Whether we realize it or not, and whether we consciously integrate it into our discipline or not, systems thinking is fundamental to our understandings and practices in any field. In that same vein, it is also fundamental to our approaches to integrate ideas of how our actions impact the world around us at multiple scales, from the very small to the enormous, as well as how we choose to communicate that to others who may or may not share our common core belief system. In order to consider what systems thinking is, we need to first understand what systems are. Now, a system consists of multiple elements that are interconnected in some fashion, and those interconnections create functions or structures that would not exist alone otherwise. As an example that hopefully many of you are familiar with, consider the US government. It consists of three branches that are interconnected in a system of checks and balances, supposedly, to enact and enforce policies and laws. The resulting structure is something that none of the branches alone could create. On a different note, consider your own body. Your organs are the elements that are interconnected by nerves, blood circulation, and a skeletal structure to render the functions that allow you to be who you are. And that is something that none of your organs could do alone. Both of these are simple examples of what we know to be very complex systems. A general system is shown in this example here. Now, systems exist everywhere. The identification of them is necessarily a human construction. That is, we get to define the system and its boundaries, we get to identify the pieces and how they connect, and we get to distinguish what the system's characteristics are. And these characteristics are also known as emergent properties. They're the things that make the system special for being a system and that make it unique from all of its elements. By defining these pieces, we allow our minds to work toward a better understanding of the various systems components and how they interact. In other words, we create what I'm going to refer to as a mental model of the system. This provides us the structure to work toward analyzing what makes the system work the way it does, and what could maybe make it work better. This is what I will refer to as systems thinking. In many ways, I found that learning basic conceptual ideas of systems thinking was a relief. It provides an intellectual safety valve and a deeper explanation for me of what gets in the way when I'm stuck at some level of lack of personal growth, or if I have some inability to express some idea. For me, it provides not only a means to understand the basic mechanism of how some physical or social systems work, but a means to understand the means of how we understand these mechanisms. Systems thinking promotes a meta view to allow a larger incorporation of how the whole both affects and is affected by all the parts. Even without an understanding of the basic tenets of systems thinking and modeling, consideration of the meta view in any situation is usually advantageous and will generally lead to outcomes that are better understood and more aligned with the desires of the stakeholders. And in this example, I show a simple system where the elements are interconnected. These are the connections, and here's the boundary. And in this case, there are elements outside of the system that I'm considering not to be part of the system as I am defining the system in this case. And I think that proper systems thinking is indispensable within proper education. As a teacher professor,